Hello everybody, my name is Brandon. Welcome back to Cinefessions, where we talk all things media. So back at the beginning of April, I released a video that counted down my 5 most anticipated releases of the upcoming month. And one of those releases was this week's brand new disaster film, Moonfall, on 4K. So that's what I want to review today, is this 4K release of Moonfall. I've heard so many mixed things about this movie. My buddy texted me when he was at the theater watching it, saying it was genuinely the worst thing he's ever seen before. But then others have said, it's pretty good. So where did I fall on that wide spectrum? Well, I am looking forward to sharing my thoughts on this one as we move forward here. And I'll talk about the special features a little bit and the AV quality on this disc, because I had a feeling it was going to be great when it comes to the audio and visual, being Roland Emmerich, and we'll talk about if this one lives up to my expectations or not. So stay tuned to the end of this one, because this one did come with a digital code, and I've decided that I do want to give away this digital code. So stay tuned to the end of the video, and I'll talk about how you can be entered to win the digital code for Moonfall if you are interested in that. But if you guys have a second, please hit that like button down below. That really does help me out. But with that said, let's not waste any more time at all. Let's dive right in to my 4K review of Moonfall. A little PSA at the beginning here, in case you are watching this when this is new. Moonfall was actually only $24.99 at like Target and Walmart on 4K right now when it released, but it's $29.99 at Best Buy. And the Steelbook, which there is a Best Buy exclusive Steelbook, that one is $34.99. So keep that in mind. I actually grabbed this from Target, and there was a 15% off coupon that I was able to use from like my Circle. So definitely check that out. Your mileage may vary, but I was able to get this for like $22. So definitely a good deal on this if you're looking to pick it up again in this first week of release here. All right, so let's start by talking about the movie itself. And honestly, I think this section is going to be incredibly short, because this is a movie that I do not want to spoil at all. I did not expect any of what was going to happen here to go down. So Moonfall is a disaster movie. This is directed by Roland Emmerich from 2022, of course. And it is like, it is Roland Emmerich disaster film turned up to 11. It is insanity personified. So basically, we're exactly what you expect is what's happening here. The moon is falling. So the film starts off in 2011. We are like at the International Space Station. We have Halle Berry and Patrick Wilson, who are two of our main characters here. They are astronauts, and a disaster happens. They end up going back home, and Patrick Wilson's character is basically on trial for negligence. And that separates, because Halle Berry and Patrick Wilson's character were like, he calls her his work wife, which I'm sure you can relate if you are someone who works in an office or wherever, I guess. But yeah, so they're really good friends, and that breaks them apart. Halle Berry continues to work with NASA, and then Patrick Wilson ends up kind of separating, and things kind of go awry from him, or for him. And then we jump 10 years into the future, and Patrick Wilson's son, his character's son, is there's something like going on with him. He ends up being arrested, and it's just crazy. But it's clear like they're both Halle Berry's character and Patrick Wilson's are both divorced, so they're just going through some rough times. But that's when the John Bradley character pops up here, and he is basically like a kind of conspiracy theorist who thinks that the moon is hollow and thinks it is like a alien-made structure. And it is actually, something has happened that it is off its normal like orbit, its normal trajectory, and it is getting closer to the Earth. So initially they think, oh, we have like 3 years, but then instantly they realize, no, it's not 3 years, it's about 3 weeks. And then that window just keeps getting smaller and smaller, it seems, as the movie progresses. And it's a disaster film. Like, is it, are they going to survive? Is the world going to continue? What's going to happen? So it is a disaster film, but it is so much more than that. Like, it is ridiculous. Let me just preface this by saying that I am someone who spends an inordinate amount of time watching asylum movies. And for my money, this is like a $150 million budgeted asylum film. It is absolutely insane. I can see why some people say this was absolutely dreadful. And frankly, yeah, It has a very questionable script. It has some of the, so most of the acting from our main three, like our main characters, I think do an excellent job. But there's one character in particular, and it is Halle Berry's character's ex-husband. He is like the Secretary of Defense or something. Like he's a military guy in the Department of Defense. He has literally zero range whatsoever. And I think this is not just a knock on the actor himself. This is, I think, with the directing as well. I think this is the direction they were trying to go with his character. Because he is this military man, he's trying not to show emotion. But oh my God, it is the most wooden performance I can remember in the past few years here. Like it is just bad. And again, that's not to knock the actor. I think it is a mix of, you know, maybe the actor and what the director is trying to get, what Emmerich was trying to get out of this character. So it did not work for me at all. I thought that was dreadful. But other than that, I thought the acting was good in this. The son character, kind of the delinquent son, I think does a good job. There's a few like minor characters, supporting cast that do well. But I really like our main three of Halle Berry, Patrick Wilson, and John Bradley. I think they are fantastic. They have really good chemistry together. And so their scenes, which they are in the film a lot together, they work really well on screen together. So I liked that aspect of this film quite a bit. One supporting character that I do want to talk about really quickly is Michael Pena is in this, and he is playing like the new husband to Patrick Wilson's ex-wife, and he is very good in this, but he is so underutilized. Michael Pena is hilarious, and I think they could have done so much more with that character, but like what they do is just kind of forgettable. It could have been any actor and the results would have been the same, as long as they were a competent actor, of course. So it's not that Pena does a bad job. He is just completely underutilized here. I was so surprised to see him because I didn't think like, you know, that this didn't seem like a role that he would be in. I see him in a lot of comedic roles, but he does a good job. It's just, again, they could have done so much more to make this character a little bit more memorable. So wanted to touch on that. And I will talk about John Bradley. I don't recognize him from anything, but I feel like I probably should. But this is the conspiracy theorist, and he is excellent. I loved him. It sounds so goofy, but just go with me for a minute here. What he really reminded me of was Olaf from Frozen, which sounds ridiculous, but in like the grand scheme of what this movie is, it kind of makes sense. Like he has these like ridiculous one-liners every so often. He's just incredibly endearing, at least to me. I thought he was like just played really well, and I liked him. I wanted him to succeed. I just found him like great. I found him very enjoyable to watch, and he just gave off that Olaf vibe. He was a little bit bumbling and kind of just silly, but so well done. I loved that character. So I thought John Bradley did just an excellent job with his role here. Emmerich is a director who does so many big movies like this, and my favorite of his, one of my favorite disaster films of all time, is The Day After Tomorrow. And this had a very similar vibe to The Day After Tomorrow, except, like I said before, turned up to 11. It was like Day After Tomorrow on steroids with a sci-fi twist. It was just insane. The special effects here are incredible. Yes, it is clear that we are watching them in front of a green screen at points, but still, I think they do a great job with it. Frankly, I thought the worst aspect, like in terms of the special effects, were when they were doing this car chase sequence. It was so fake looking, and I'm thinking, how are you doing these like moon sequences, these like gigantic, moon pieces crashing to Earth? They look, genuine. They look good. But then you have this car chase sequence that just looked utterly ridiculous. I was so disappointed in that. I'm like, how is this aspect, something that they could have just done in the real world, how is this going to look the worst of the entire film? But, outside of that, I thought it looked really awesome. And that's why I watch disaster films. Like, I want this disaster porn, if you will. Like, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And Roland Emmerich does it just about better than anybody else out there, and Moonfall is absolutely no exception. Like, this is exactly the type of movie you expect it to be in terms of the disaster aspect, but then, at least for me, was not at all what I expected when you get to the story itself, which I'm not even going to talk about because you have to see it to experience it. It is just absurd. And that is really where people are just going to hate this movie, and I totally understand it. But my wife liked it. She doesn't watch any of the asylum movies with me. She would hate them. So there are people that will enjoy this, but myself, as someone who likes B movies and has a great time with them, this was that, cranked up with a gigantic budget, and I couldn't want anything more. This is not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination, but oh my god, it is fun. It is a turn your brain off, don't worry about how stupid and ridiculous and disjointed, because oh my gosh, this movie is so disjointed. It just jumps through time with no rhyme or reason. I don't mean going backwards in time. It's just 1 minute you're watching these characters, and then all of a sudden in the next scene, even though they're wearing the exact same clothes, it's like a week later or 3 days later, and it's like, it's jarring at times with how ridiculous the timeline is in this movie, but I don't care. I just don't care. Like, it was so fun and absurd. Like, I had a blast with it. So that's all I want to say, because you need to see it. This goes a crazy, like, just directions that I did not see coming at all. So I don't even know what I should really be giving Moonfall, to be honest with you, but you know, it's subjective, like everything else in the world. Every review ever is subjective. So for me, even though I recognize this is not a good movie, I just could not have asked for anything more. So I'm going to give Moonfall from 2022 4 out of 5 stars. And I understand that that's absurd. Okay, so let's jump over to the AV quality on this 4K release, and I'll start by talking about the visual quality, because this was one of the ones that I was most looking forward to this month, because I thought that the AV quality on this would be incredible, and I was right to think so, because it looks amazing. So this 4K release does have a Dolby Vision color grading, which is how I watched it, and it looks phenomenal. Most of this movie takes place in the dark, and because of that Dolby Vision really helps bring out those blacks, and so it just looked really, really good. This is, again, whenever I talk AV, it's very layman. Like, this is just someone who doesn't know a ton of like the technical terms or anything like that, but to me it looked phenomenal. It was exactly what I was expecting it to look like, and honestly, it's like the best disaster porn I have ever seen. And on 4K, even though you can make out a little bit more of the green screen work, that didn't bother me at all. I was just so engrossed by kind of the absurdity and the ridiculousness of this entire thing that I was hooked, and it didn't even matter. And it is just so much fun watching these cities be decimated, you know, like they are, and watching this moon. The moon looks phenomenal. Just the detail in this picture is so good, and I think that's, you know, really what you're picking up from the 4K release here. So the visual quality is fantastic. I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Jumping over to the audio on this one, oh my gosh, it was fantastic again. It was just rumbling my house, and it was so much fun. It helps engross you into this weird, crazy world that's going on the screen. There is a Dolby Atmos track on this, and you can definitely hear those levels above you. I think they sound wonderful. You know, when the like rocket ship is going over right in the beginning of the movie, I really felt those levels up there, and they sounded fantastic. The heights are what I'm saying levels, I'm meaning the heights. And I thought it just sounded really good. And mind you, I'm using a Dolby Atmos soundbar, so even my experience is limited, but even with my limited experience, I could get that feeling of the height. And I think that is just, if you have a true, like, you know, Dolby Atmos speakers on your ceiling, this is going to be even better for you. Some of like the surround sound just was awesome as well. And again, that rumble in the bass was so great, and it just places you there. Godzilla 2014 is another one that I think did a really good job with this, and this is right up there with that. So I loved it. I think it was awesome. So this Dolby Atmos track is getting 4.5 out of 5 stars as well. Last but not least, I do want to talk about the special features, which they are listed on the back there if you want to, take a screenshot or pause it and see those. But again, I don't rate the special features because I don't watch all of them, but this time I watched the majority of them. So the main one here is it's called Against Impossible Odds, Making Moonfall, and it is a 60-minute documentary, behind the scenes documentary. I didn't watch this entire thing, but I did watch some of it, and it's pretty much what you would expect. I do like that they have Roland Emmerich on here talking a lot about this film and kind of the idea where it sprang from and things like that. So I loved that, but this is definitely one do not watch until you watch the movie, because it obviously is going to give away everything. You could say that about any, behind the scenes featurette, but especially here, because you just need to see the film. But anyway, that one was pretty good. Again, I didn't watch the full thing. The thing I actually did watch the entirety of, apparently I'm a big nerd. It's called Exploring the Moon, Past, Present, and Future. And this is a 30-minute documentary on moon moon and space travel and NASA's history with going to the moon and whatnot. And it was awesome. Like, I know very little when it comes to, space travel or things like that. And I found this documentary very informative and just interesting. And so I put it on after the movie was done, and I ended up watching the entire thing. And like I said, it's 30 minutes. So just in those two features, you have an hour and 30 minutes extra of bonus features. On top of that, there is this, it's not listed on here, but John Bradley's character speaks. And it is in character, kind of his vlogs that he does online, his character does, that are talking about like this conspiracy theory that he believes in and things like that. It almost felt like it was a bit of like a prequel to the movie. I don't know how they were released originally. They felt like they may have been released online though, because it kind of leads up to the start of the film. So I thought they were pretty cool. Again, I watched all of them. It was only like 7-8 minutes long, so it was a pretty short one. And then on top of that, the last one is an audio commentary. And that one has Roland Emmerich and the writer, producer, composer, Harold Closer. And as I always say, I don't really do commentary, so I didn't even start that one, so I can't comment on it, but it is available if you're interested. So I'm actually surprised how many special features were on here and how entertaining they were. So kudos to Moonfall's release here for having some really worthwhile and fun special features. So just wrapping up my thoughts overall on this 4K release, I think it is absolutely worth picking up on 4K if you are interested in the movie. If what I talked about, if a $150 million asylum movie doesn't sound interesting to you, then don't watch this. You're not going to like it. But if something as absurd and big and over the top and just ridiculous and disjointed and a poor script, one really bad character in this in terms of the acting, like if that doesn't bother you, you think that's okay, then Moonfall could be right up your alley. Like it is definitely a movie made for me. So if you tend to like some of the things I do, you might get a kick out of Moonfall if you haven't seen this one. But even if you don't buy it, if it ever goes streaming, I think check it out, because it just has such a unique idea behind the entire thing that I admire what Roland Emmerich was able to do with this disaster film to make it feel fresh again. So I had a blast. It is giant, over the top, absurd, shut your brain off entertainment. So bad that it's good, but it's fantastically fun. So and the AV quality is exactly what you would hope. And the special features are actually quite packed. So the $25 that this is right now, I absolutely think this one is worth owning. I am very happy to have this in my collection. So I am going to give the 4K release of Moonfall overall 4 out of 5 stars. All right, so those were my thoughts on 2022's Moonfall, and I'm so glad I had such a good time with this one because it is just so divisive. So I would love to hear from you guys down in the comments below. Like, have you seen this one? And if so, did you love it or did you hate it? Maybe you fell in between, because that's where I feel like a lot of people are that have commented on some of my past videos. It's okay. It's good, but not great. And I totally understand and respect that. But I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Is it one that you haven't seen yet and you might be picking it up because of this review? Let me know that down below as well. But if you're interested in seeing this movie for free, then all you have to do is subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and leave a comment below listing your favorite disaster film. So then you would be entered in for a chance to win the digital copy of Moonfall, and it should redeem in, whatever, Ultra HD, because this is the 4K release of it. So if you're interested, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and tell me down below in a comment what is your favorite disaster movie. And I'll be a little bit more specific this time. I will leave this giveaway open for 2 weeks from the day this video releases. So it will close on so I'm releasing this on a Thursday, so it'll close the second Thursday after this video releases. So keep that in mind if you're watching it a little bit later. I will also mention that I've read that this is not a Movies Anywhere compatible code. It's right on Lionsgate, it says. So keep that in mind if that matters to you. But I don't think there's a better way to see this movie than for free. So leave those comments about your favorite disaster movie, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're interested in winning this digital copy. But that will do it for today, guys. So if you did enjoy this one, please give it a like down below. That engagement, it just really helps me out. So thanks so much for doing that. I really do appreciate it. And like I always say, I don't just talk movies, I talk all things media, be it books, movies, video games, graphic novels, manga. If it's media related, I'm interested in it. And if you are too, you might consider subscribing. All right, guys, so that's going to do it. I just want to say thank you all so much for watching, and I want to encourage you to consume some media today. I'll catch you next time.